Welcome to Facing the Crowd, and thanks so much for tuning in. We are going to talk to Bobby Ferry from 16, and we appreciate anyone that's watching. So let's go, Bobby.
Let's do it.
Unmute. Unmute.
Bobby, how you doing, mate?
Hey, so sorry. I was at a beautiful California farmers market.
Oh no, we've dragged you away.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
my cucumber fancy drink there.
Straight from the farmer's market, yeah?
Yeah,
Cucumber drink.
that's how we're living here in California.
Oh, nice weather there today.
Yeah, it's in the high 80s
Oh wow.
Fahrenheit. I don't know the conversion. I'm in San Diego, so I can't complain about anything for the most part.
Well,
Yeah.
Bobby,
musically I'll complain, but you know.
Welcome to Facing the Crowd podcast. You are talking to Perks and Hobo.
Yeah, it's not my real name.
Otherwise known as Lee and Sam. And we're delighted to have
Right
you
on.
on.
We are.
Thank you.
We are indeed delighted to have you on. And let
me turn on my ceiling fan here.
Yeah, no worries, man.
I could still hear you. Let me grab the remote there. Okay. All right.
There it goes.
Look at that. Shit's moving. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Modern technology. So yeah, so we always start with similar questions, really. But the first question we always like to ask was, what was the first paid gig that you ever went to?
Paid gig that I went to as like a fan.
Yeah. Like the first big band that you saw.
Well, in growing up around here in Southern California, I was drugged to the US Festival when I was I don't know, 9 years old.
Wow.
So I got to see, rock history at 9 years old. So, I saw Flock of Seagulls, Berlin, Quiet Riot. Who did I really like back then? Judas Priest. So then I was about 9 years old. I think I saw the first female breasts that week too, with a friend saying that there's going to be topless girls, and every time there was one, he would drag me over there. So my brother. But no, that was kind of being brought along with my irresponsible parents, who would bring a 9-year-old to a festival like that. On my own, the first gigs that I paid for was like probably Red Cross and Jane's Addiction.
Nice.
Red Cross, Jane's Addiction, Dinosaur Jr., the Red Hot Chili Peppers. These were all the bands in LA and the 1987 and beyond. I was maybe 16 years old. So as soon as I got a driver's license, I went and saw Red Cross and Jane's Addiction. I saw Soundgarden back then at the Whiskey with Prong and Voivod. So I pretty much had the bug ever since then.
Wow. And is that what made you want to be a musician, seeing those bands?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I saw, I like the first show that I like crowd surfed at and like stood in front was Jane's Addiction at the I think it was called the Embassy Hotel. It was where Robert Kennedy got shot in downtown LA in this big theater, and it was a New Year's Eve show. I saw that, and that was like transcendent, Smoke Machine, the whole bit, delay pedal. So I just was like, okay, that's it. I would like to play guitar now and where this lands, Or actually, I played guitar then, but I didn't, have equipment. As soon as I saw that gig, I like went and bought like a Stratocaster.
What's your rig like these days? What do you use with the band?
You want to take up the whole podcast with that, and let's do it. Let's do it. I'm like a super equipment head. I mean, even all around me, there's like a here. There you go. Using a Fractal.
Nice.
This is a Charvel. This is a custom baritone made by a guy named JBL. This is a Telecaster by this company called Nash.
Nice.
And then there's down the line. I use Orange, PD 5150s, Angle. I have a there's the other guitarist in the band has a bunch of stuff too. So we're always swapping and trying, and yeah, that's kind of part of the addiction is
Yeah,
just,
of course.
filling up empty space with things that are loud that make you happy.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, 100%. So do you rehearse a lot as a band, like together, or do you like live quite close together and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So like we're here in San Diego, and we're in a city, so space is pretty limited. Like nobody has like an extra garage or anything. Parking's hard enough. So we
Yeah.
have a rehearsal studio. We practice like 3 times a week, which is pretty high for a band of our age.
Fair play.
We've been doing it for so long.
Mhm.
But we just figure that this is what makes us happy, and let's either write stuff, practice old songs, got a gig, practice up for a gig, you know. Um, so that's where the majority of and then it just turns into like a clubhouse, just a place for, what do they say? Married men need hobbies. So we just pretty much hang out there. Sometimes I drive by there and then I see like one of my, the bass player's car on the way home, and I'm like, oh, he's hanging out there. I'm gonna go hang out there. So
Nice.
we have a little space with amps and vinyl and just air conditioning.
Yeah. It's nice,
Yeah,
isn't it,
yeah.
to have air conditioning?
It's not just a
Uh,
band; it's a club. It's just a hangout.
yeah, yeah. It's just a place to go. It's in a cool neighborhood with a bunch of really decent places to eat. It's in the um, I think is it a Korean or it's in the official Asian food district.
Mhm.
So if we're not practicing, there's ramen, there's pho, there's Korean barbecue, there's a bunch of cool bars. It's just a cool place, culinary wise around there. So it's like, yeah, it's the clubhouse. It's our
Karaoke bars.
operated.
Is that
Oh yeah,
karaoke? The
there's
Korean love for
karaoke
karaoke,
bars.
don't they? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
What's your
yeah.
go-to karaoke song?
Oh, like Steve Miller Band. I'm the Joker, something like that. Fog
Nice.
Hat,
Nice.
Slow Ride, Fog Hat.
Oh, sweet, man. So what about the first time you actually played like live as like with a band? Would that have been with 16? Or was it earlier than that?
Yeah. No, this is like my first and band. I've like guested on other things, but this
Mhm.
is the band. So, we played
Crazy.
a backyard pool party in 1991. There was a drain pool, so people were skating.
Uh-huh.
We So it was a skateboard. It was actually a house that was being torn down, so people were just wrecking the house and
Yeah.
skating in the pool. And we played our first show. We obviously weren't very good, but I say we played shows at least 4 years too early. But the police came, and that was the first gig. So memorable, yes. Good, no, not really.
That's wicked though, man. I mean, you'll
Yeah.
never forget that, right? Your first show and the police turned up. And we
True,
ain't talking about
true.
Sting.
That's bragging rights.
Yeah,
It's
bragging rights.
funny when it was happening too. I'm like, well, I couldn't ask for a better first experience. That's one everyone will think of.
Yeah, exactly that. No, I think that's wicked. That's wicked. So we wanted to talk a little bit, obviously about the latest album, Into Dust. Um, what was the recording process like for that? Do you always use the same kind of process, the way you work together?
Um, you know, um, yeah. I mean, we always go in. We write collectively because we practice a lot.
Uh-huh.
So we're always writing. We're always writing, and that's really the creative thing is that makes us move forward. It's not like like I always say, it's not like we've ever written a classic to sustain us. So I'm literally still trying to write that classic now. lifelong, just vomit it out. So it turns into us like, hey, let's just go in and demo. Turns out to because either the drum performance is so good or something, or like we're at that weird, what do they say? It takes you like 10 years to write your first album, and then you got to write your next one in like 6 months. We're always kind of writing a couple years in advance almost. So we go in and we usually track all the music, and then I'm fairly new to singing 100%. So it's something that is still evolving within me, and how to do it faster. I'm a few months behind everybody on the music, but sometimes I think that's good though, so it doesn't keep me in the guitar realm of creativity. I need a couple months to step away and write vocals like I don't know how to play guitar, and then when we go to studio, I kind of meld them together. So that's the process, is just jam on things till everybody likes it. Hit the studio with the intents of it being a demo, but then we always 100% of the time say, oh well, this is an album and let's just continue, and why waste money? And again, we don't pay, it's not like we're working with producers or anything. So we're pretty Alex, our guitarist, is the producer, and does like the majority of the writing too, and then it's just everybody kind of smushing this thing together where we all like it.
Do you think that like, obviously, like you say, now you're like 100% doing the vocals, do you find that that's changed your guitar playing at all?
No, I still try to really grow as a guitar player. Like, honestly, I'm better than I was 2 years ago, and 2 years before that, I was better. So I'm always kind of growing. Maybe no, I like to really separate it. I like to write separately, because if I start writing just with guitar, I'm going to write on the downbeats. I'm going to have this cadence of somebody, and so it's important for me to really disconnect and like put another head on and think like a singer and forget how to play guitar, and then hit the studio with that same intention. And then once it's mastered and I have a gig to go promote this album, I better learn how to sing and play it. And that's how I do it.
That's amazing. That's a good way of working, right?
Yeah, I think so. So it keeps me growing as a singer and a guitarist. But it also puts my two separate hats on. And again, we operate with pretty, collectively pretty heavy feedback from the rest of the group. So, we all put a lot into this. So it's like everybody's kind of like it,
Yeah.
Because, I think you could feel it in somebody's performance if they don't like what they're doing. So let's just play this to the point where everybody feels confident of their part. And that's hence the practice. So.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you guys are like known for like your like raw performances and all that kind of stuff, like high energy performances. I mean, how do you keep, what inspires you to perform at that kind of level, at that kind of energy?
Just like, how the ones who did the blueprint for us, as a kid. Seeing, I used to go to this place in LA or in the Valley called the Reseda Country Club. It's a famous, venue in metal and hardcore, and just seeing the Bad Brains play and seeing, Fugazi. I saw Fugazi a few times there on their first couple tours, and this place called the Anti Club in LA. Again, these were like, places that held maybe 200-300 people, and these guys would just command the stage either with dynamics or with just like raw sincerity and raw effort. And then when I got older and actually started playing in bands, I was seeing I was coming down here to San Diego a lot, and their whole music scene, Drive Like Jehu and Rocket from the Crypt, and there was a bunch of other bands that just really had that, like no stops between the songs, like just fucking go. Like this is our 35 minutes, and we're gonna sweat as much as we can. And again, now it's almost ridiculous because there's people that climb all over the monitors to do all that shit. We definitely don't do that. You know, like the any of those injuries could be a career ender. You know, but yeah, just being inspired as a youth. But like I said, by those, I mean, if you saw Bad Brains, Fugazi, you know, but I, Sick of It All, Leeway, and then Black Flag, Rollins Band, Circle Jerks, all these things where these people just gave 100%, whether there was 10 people or 1,000.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of shit I'm looking for. So that's the kind of shit I want to. That's the kind of shit I want to do.
Yeah, it's like you took going back to Fugazi. Like you see some of their like grainy videos like from whatever year, and some of their audiences are so small, but they're literally giving it everything, aren't they? And you never saw Fugazi with like massive crowds of people, but they're like regarded as like this proper cult band, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they changed it for sure. I mean, they I mean, of course he had the luxury of, Minor Threat was a record at one point that if you were in the 80s and into punk, you had that record in America. So that's, he had his foot in, but then it wasn't like he went in an opposite direction. Like he drove his own narrative. They didn't go faster. They went slower. They went more emotive. They went less. They went more space. They were like influenced by krautrock and stuff. And so it made them, when you saw them live, they really stood out. And, what is it? You can be good. Everyone's good. You can be great. Everyone's great, but you have to be super original. And they were super original. Like think of the time and the sound. There was some bands, Wire, Killing Joke had that kind of thing going, but Fugazi just took it to this, Gang of Four took it to this place that all us like 15-year-olds who were skateboarding in Southern California cared so much. What Ian McKay did, a guy from Washington, D.C., 3,000 miles away, where, 400 or 500 of us would show up every night, no matter where they played in California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So obviously you're saying you're playing or rehearsing 3 times a week, and obviously you got your family life. Do you get to see many new bands? Is there anyone that grabs you at the moment in the heavy metal scene? Is there any gigs you've been to where you thought that's really a good act?
Yeah. Oh shit. There's so many bands now. There's this is not an isolated scene anymore. This is, if it hasn't grown in audience, it's most definitely grown in bands. So it's like a lot of people are in bands because, to be honest with you, it's not that hard to skill up to be in a band. It probably takes a few years. So who do I really like now? Locally, there's a bunch of really good bands. The city has always had a bunch of good bands. The same with LA. There's a band called Negative Blast here. For a while, they had the drummer of Earthless, Mario Rubalcaba, and it's like this total hardcore, but not chugging, even like open chord hardcore. That's really harsh. I don't think Mario's in the band anymore. There's another band called Doc Hammer from here that we play to, that are like that kind of, gross, dirty punk rock and roll, where they have this performance style where they do climb all over the bar and, will make you watch them. It's kind of dangerous, and I'm into that. I'm definitely into that. They and then who else? LA, of course, has a bunch of really good bands. Who do we play with lately? There's a band called Cadabra that is on Heavy Psych Sounds. That is like not metal but heavy, and like the heaviest band I've seen with twin reverbs and Telecasters for sure. Like it's super awesome, kind of dark psych, and those guys tour all the time. They're warriors. Yeah, that's that's kind of it. And then of course there's like, I mean, we could just rattle off a lot of records that were made in the last year that are great. But again, I think that might be another podcast, just like gear would be another podcast. So I'm a fan. I'm a total fan. I want to see, as many bands as I can. I'll even travel. There's and of course like the bigger bands, like Red Fang, Yob. There's a band called Deadbird from Arkansas that we played with, that we just did a split with. They're awesome. So is Fistula. They're kind of long running scuzzy sludge. And Deadbird's a little more prog, maybe Neurosis kind of influence, but they got a southern thing going too that you can really hear Arkansas in their sound. And then of course, like, I like the new Baroness. I like that Spirit Adrift record. I like a lot of shit, and then I like a bunch of, traditional metal, that you name it. I mean, we're living in the golden age. We can complain about.
You're a fan.
Yeah, we can complain about like Spotify, but like, holy shit, man, I can listen to whatever I want at all times.
Yeah,
at all times. True. Like music's everywhere.
I wouldn't embrace it at first for ages. I was like, no, I just want to keep buying CDs. And then one day I started using it and I was like, hang on a minute, this is incredible. It's listening to what I listen to and it's making me playlists. Yeah. And I'm learning so much stuff.
Personal jukebox.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like how it's inside your head like blows my mind. Like, how did you know I like this song or would like this song? You know? And so that's the algorithm is turning me on like to a bunch of really cool shit, like this band Portrayal of Guilt. I think that's how I heard Spirit Adrift too. I was like, what is this? Is this old? Is this new? Is this the Sword? Is this not? And then I know it's based on what you like. I'm a huge fan. You know what I should mention too, some of the very first gigs that I saw and played was Fu Manchu, and they really changed. Like they gave us like our second gig and were always very supportive of us. We're a little bit younger than them, but seeing them in their infancy and the Action Is Go, and just being blown away by like, guitars. I was like literally, our friend O, who passed away, was, we were at a gig at Fu Manchu and there might've been 10 people there. This was one of their first gigs, maybe 20, I don't know, in Costa Mesa, California. And I literally, they explained how they tuned their guitars down to see it. I'm like, no way, like I gotta do that. And like, my friend O was like, yeah, do that, bitch. You fucking get yourself a 412 and turn your guitar down to C. And I was like, got it. I got it. Nice. I'm doing this now. Yeah.
Nice.
I finally got to see Fu Manchu at Desert Fest London a couple of years ago. They headlined it. I was just like, yeah, this is one of the greatest gigs. Finally,
every riff is great. They're they got that fuzz tone and they got like songs with no nonsense. Like like I just love a good song. Like they're really kind of a prototype like punk hardcore band who has the slower riffs. But if you think like their arrangements are like punk hardcore, like 2-3 minutes. They just have that whole fuzz psychedelic edge to them, but it's still like I love it. It doesn't take a bunch of patience. I'm not a giant fan of psych that goes on forever. I just what is it? Don't bore us. Just get to the chorus. Come on.
Everyone
guys.
likes the chorus, don't they?
The Action Is Go wasn't on the social media for ages, was it? It wasn't on the Spotify and Apple and all that. You couldn't listen to it, and then all of a sudden it's like something that got agreed and it was on there with all the other albums. All of a sudden it's like, great.
I think I don't think they've ever made. They keep getting better. I really like them.
Oh yeah, no, brilliant band. But let's get back to 16 a little bit. Let's talk about 16. I mean, you guys are you're kind of like renowned as being like one of the like the godfathers of the whole sludge scene, right? How does that feel?
I mean, if some magazine said that, then I guess it's true.
It's
But
true. It's true.
we were definitely earlier than some.
Yeah.
But I think um where we innovated stylistically, we didn't work touring wise.
Hmm.
Because at the time, at the band lineup that we had, a bunch of problems that we couldn't tour because we either didn't have the economics or the mental health or the sobriety to even
Yeah.
tour back then. But yeah, we were definitely, a sound, again, I think everybody bases, this off. I was like Poison Idea, Black Flag's My War, and Melvins, and then throw in like Candlemass and throw in Trouble. And that was the archetypes that we were going to.
Hmm.
I think we were just like, generation where it was called Sludge, and we were like, part of that very first few bands who were tuning and had, slowed down riffs that thrash would only use, as an intro. Well, we just
Yeah.
made the whole song. We just made the whole song that. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's great, mate. It's. I mean, the way I got into you is one day I used to work in a shop sort of down the road, and one of my mates come in, and he went to me, "You got to listen to this album," and it was Dropout, and I listened to it, and I've bought every album since. I think you're a great band.
thank you.
Very, very, very different. You've got a very different sound, but there's also elements of. I mean, I listen to a lot of kind of like the New Orleans stuff, all that kind of stuff. I like all that. I like Corrosion and all that kind of stuff, and Down and all that. But you guys have just got something a bit different,
I think by way of upbringing, we definitely have a kind of a hardcore influence
Mm,
that made us and a noise rock influence.
yeah.
But again, most of that came from ignorance. I'm also a big fan of like Sonic Youth and things like that. So I was just gonna
Mm,
I was just gonna see where we ended up, and that's where we ended. Like I was just gonna spit this out and see how it happened. But again,
yeah,
it was
yeah.
Poison Idea, Black Flag, My War, Rollins Band. Those were the kind of archetypes. And then, COC, when they came out with Blind, I was like, oh, what's this tune to? See? Well, I'm already here. So, and then I heard COC's Blind, and I was like, that's just the greatest, So I'm a total fan of all of it.
Yeah, Deliverance for me. That CD was in my car for probably years. It's probably still in there now.
I know that's such a great record too. It's
Yeah,
such an amazing record. Yeah.
cool, man. So, you were heavily involved in like the whole skating scene, right? The California skating scene.
Yeah, yeah. That was like what that was my education.
Hmm.
I always say like the I learned the lessons of gravity. I don't think there's like much tougher kids than skateboarders, than kids who are willing to throw themselves downstairs or off ramps. So that's, I was literally skateboarding since I was 5 years old, and I was left there for daycare. And then just got immersed in the culture and heard my first bands, heard Devo, heard Black Flag, heard the Adolescents in Orange County. Was seeing Dwayne Peters and Steve Olson and all these guys that defined skateboarding culture. I was just a little kid hanging around there, but I got pretty good pretty young. And then in high school, I took it more seriously and became sponsored and entered, every contest I could, and
Hmm.
did everything I could to just, submit and create part of that culture. And it served me well, as far as being individualistic. I'm not a team player. I'm not a sports guy. I'm like go surfing and go over the falls and almost drowned, or go skateboarding and I try not to concuss yourself. But that's those are, I like that much better because the stakes are on you.
Yeah.
So that's what got me. And then it was a lot of exposure to traveling and people who were in bands. It all came through skateboarding.
Yeah. So
all of that.
Were you like involved in like a skateboarding team, and you used to travel actually skateboarding with a team or something like that? I don't really understand how it all used to work.
Yeah. So, it used to be in the 80s, you'd enter contests and it was like, age division. And I started, getting like top 3 in contests. And then I got sponsored by a place called Foundation Skateboards, which was early company, but now they're kind of a huge company. So I was one of the first, I think I was like the first 3 that were on the team. And then I got a bunch of other friends on the team who turned out to be very influential pro skateboarders who changed the culture. I was, so you level up when you hang out with people who are very good.
Yeah.
You're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So, at a certain point late in high school, I'd just be like, literally at Tony Hawk's house skateboarding. And, you'd be surprised at how that pushes the level, within 6 months, hanging around those people, I got like pretty good at age 18 and got to travel and get, free stuff. There was really no money in it back then. But later in my late 20s, it turned into a pretty lucrative job. I was a sales manager of this skateboard company called Tumietto that has like 0 skateboards, Toy Machine, and Foundation. So I was a sales manager for a number of years, few years. That again, more exposure in that niche culture and learning the basics of kind of brands and brand management and marketing and lifestyle and all that. But again, it's not anything that's like the leaders emerge with those kids and in that culture, and it's usually by sheer uniqueness. That's sincerity and uniqueness are very valued in that culture. And it still is. So.
Yeah. Have you watched I only watched it the other night. That's you talking about Tony Hawk made me remember. But have you watched that documentary about Tony Hawk? I think it's called Until.
Yeah, he needs to retire. That dude needs to retire. He's gonna kill himself. I mean, it's like Lance Mountain is saying like one of us is gonna die. I mean, we just had a like, so I live here in San Diego, which is kind of like the epicenter of skateboarding. I'm sure Tony Hawk might live 10 miles from my house. Again, I'm not friends with him anymore. I don't know where he lives, but I do have friends that are friends with him and go over there and skate his pool. As you get older, the injuries become way more serious.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I see him on the news the other day. He's like walking with a walking stick. I mean, he's like you say, he probably should have stopped skating a long time ago, right? There's only so much your body can take.
Again, but he's back at it and defying the odds. So who am I to say? I mean, you look at the pro surfers too, like Laird Hamilton's in his 60s. He's doing death-defying things.
That's insane, isn't it?
So, and Tony Hawk is Tony Hawk is most definitely, I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be like, I'm 50, so he's got to be like 56 or 57,
and he's
maybe
still
even coming on to 60.
Yeah, and the same thing with this other guy. Stick. Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah. Lance Mountain, Steve Caballero, Christian Soy, they're all maybe 60 years old and still very good at it.
What I found interesting was that when in that particular documentary is when all the other guys who were like in that scene at the time, I wouldn't remember any of their names, but none of them really liked him, did they? Because they thought because he was changing tricks, because he was so small and light, he had to change tricks. But they thought he was cheating, or they were saying he's not doing the tricks properly. But he was, I suppose, really he was just making his own style, right?
He was such an outsider, even with Dan. There was this whole kind of punk rock attitude that favored style over technical ability. And it was like, well, why flip your board if you're just doing a 10-foot air? So he was so far ahead. I think there was resistance, and then also he was like just hitting puberty late. So these other guys were like had mustaches at age 16, and had there was a style thing that he didn't develop his style till later. So he could win the contests by doing the most tricks, but everyone was like, those tricks don't really have an attitude. You're just like a robot. you know. And then later his ability to do those sticks became the attitude, and he changed it for everybody, and everybody followed him. So I think
Yeah.
is the reason why they didn't like him was it was just he was too unique very soon, you know.
Yeah.
When Bobby, when I was like 12 or 13, the Bones Brigade come to the UK, and
Awesome.
they were set to play set to skate our local skate park in Romford. And so we all went down there. I mean, I couldn't even skate. All I could do was like ride on the board and do an ollie. And we all went down there, all the guys like from my street. Someone's dad dropped us off, and it was like blazing hot. And they come in this like little van with a sunroof in it, and there was so many skaters from around Essex that had converged on this skate park. They couldn't get out. They couldn't actually get into the park and skate. They just couldn't even get
It was like
in.
the Beatles.
Yeah, it was like no one would even move to let them into the bloody skate park. So they were like signing the flyers for the event and throwing them out the top of the sunroof and then they drove off. They just went, and like we all skated off. Hundreds of people skated after the vans, like, and they just went. They never skated. That was like,
yeah. I mean, that's the level of fame they're at. The cyclical nature, though, of those things. You know, a couple of years later, they probably couldn't get arrested. You know, and drew no kids. It's just, you know, it's a very cyclical. Everything's cyclical. You know, you're hot, you're not, but they were hot for sure.
Yeah,
There was a time when the Bones Brigade were the hottest.
That was like that was 87, 88. That was
And then skateboarding just
time.
disappeared, didn't it? It just disappeared.
It just like it did, but it kind of got better. I think you know, it went from this like team Bones Brigade, like lime green shorts and like airwalk shoes, to this grittier, more street culture. Either hip hop and heavy metal. You're either Pesh or hip hop in the 90s, you know, and it kind of went. And what it did is it took the incentive structure out of it. So it was just like pure innovation, you know, it turned into pure innovation. And then street skating came in and that changed everything. And I was a part of that wave, but I was a huge fan of the Bones Brigade. I was just, you know, I was in junior high, high school. That was I probably would have been one of those kids chasing them like the Beatles.
Yeah, we used to get the VHS videos of skate videos, and they're all street skating on it, the tricks and all that, and the music.
I still have them.
Yeah,
I still have them.
Yeah,
I put so you can look up one of my videos called the Magic F. So if you type Bobby Ferry, Magic F, I used a song by Mudhoney, and it was like 1990. It was like Mudhoney was just like this thing that, you know, I got a 7-inch and I was like, I want this song. You don't ask to clear it, you don't ask to what, you just put it on. It's on YouTube now, but it's like a cool, it's a cool Mudhoney. It's an instrumental. It's an instrumental on their self-titled. So I think it's their second album. It might have been 91 or 90, or it might have been 89 actually. So that was my big video part for Foundation.
Amazing. I will definitely check that out.
100%. I'll get home later.
So, there was times when like during that era, like we'd go to, you know, skate a pool and like, who's coming with us? And they're like, oh, you know, Spike Jones, the director. You know, at the time he was a photographer, so Spike would come with us, and you know, it was a wild time. It was definitely a wild time. Jason Lee, who you know later turned out to be a movie star. My Name is Earl. So that's
one of my favorite shows.
Us. Yeah. So
Nobody knows it over here. Nobody knows it over here. I've got them all on DVD. Show. I love it. I absolutely love that show. Brilliant. So
So I was around that whole group of people in high school, and the innovation, just pushing things. Yeah. So, you know, I'm fairly lucky just by you know, being on the right dirt at the right time in my life, and the right, you know, culture, I guess, you know, underground cultures. So but again, that shaped huge my approach to metal, and like also why I'm just going to keep pushing, like regardless of any reward. I'm just like, I've made my choice. I've got my lane, and we're writing riffs until we die. there we are.
Oh, mate, I love that. Writing riffs till we die. That's gold.
Sorry, is there any like sneak peek of what 16 are going to be doing in, say, the next year? Is there any European tours? Is there going to be another follow up to the last album?
Well, we keep getting our tours canceled, so that's a rough one. You know, I have
canceling it on or logistics.
I think a booking agent, kind of the venues were all set. We got the guarantees, and then the booking agent just disappeared. But you know, that was one thing. A couple European tours got tanked by COVID. We had a really good tour with Flipper, the band Flipper, with Mike Watt was playing bass, and we were going to do a month and actually go to England, and that got canceled because of COVID. That was like a year and a half ago. And then we had plans of one, but you know, if a festival asks us, you know, we do it. We play anywhere. I mean, we got really lucky this past year. You know, we opened up for Pentagram in theaters. We headlined our own tour, which was, you know, hit or miss. Friday night was great in like Portland or Seattle, and then like Wednesday night I played to like 10 people at a high school party at a Moroccan restaurant. And it was still, you know, it's all peaks and valleys, and you know, humbling but awesome. Because like I don't really, you know, like you know, we played in you know, Tucson, Arizona to maybe 25 people, but half of them bought records and are like lifetime fans now. So, you know, you hit where you can. You know, we get lucky. Sometimes we get flown to places. You know, like we're gonna go play with Big Business in Seattle in a month. You know, it's feast or famine. You know, we play local gigs. They say as a touring band, you never want to be a local band, but that's fucking the lamest thing I've ever heard. I want to like honestly, if you live in San Diego, you can see us like 3 times a month. I don't give a shit. I'll fucking go out there and either play to nobody or open a gig in front of 1,000 people, or you know, play all new songs, play cover songs. So I'm just kind of like, it's better to do that than not do it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like so like, you know, people are very choosy with their gigs and they're like talking about it as a market. Well, I don't give a shit about any of that. I just want to go play. Like I don't have and again, maybe that's bad, maybe that's good, but
it's not bad. Not bad.
I have a job, so I don't need, you know, I do this out of straight up, we do this out of straight up love. Like why else, you know, out of the love of creation, and just doing it is fun. Fuck it. And if you don't have that, then just get out of here, because the money's gone anyways. You know, money left the record business a long time ago. They never paid the artist anyways. So unless you were the top of the call sheet, like fucking showbiz, like you're the top of every, you know, you're a headliner, then everybody else is just exchangeable. And I think and so we're either all competing for the same crowd or just like out here doing art. And I just rather, you know, I think it's to quote Lydia Lunch, it's like, you know, if you're making art for money, you're not making art, you're making commerce. So, you know, and it's strange how if you have that same intention, those other success comes when you don't think about success. It's not like anything else. You know, it's not like you have to contextualize it as art. So to answer your question, though, yes, we do have we have a gig coming up, you know, Seattle. We're trying to plan something for next summer for Europe. We'll see. If not, we're gonna hopefully do the East Coast of the US. We have another new record written. I'm recording that now. It's about half done. It's a lot like Into Dust, but maybe a continuation and evolution. We have about 15 cover songs recorded that we've recorded over COVID just because we were bored. You know, and that's like anyone from like a local band here called 3 Mile Pilot. We recorded one of their songs. We recorded a Superchunk song. So like, not definitely, you wouldn't expect us to do it, but I made them as crushingly heavy as I could. And then like, you know, X UFO, we have a Bee Gees cover. You know, like, so we'll, you know, all this will hit the streets someday. And then we keep
there's
like
2 more albums ready. There's 2 albums ready to go.
Pretty much. And then we just keep writing. So it's like, and I'm not the kind of person that thinks everything is good and needs to be released. Some stuff, rightfully so, needs to end up in the garbage. But the point is to put in the work and just fucking get to it. Like, let's write some riffs, and if half of them suck, then we got half. Let's do that.
Mate, do you know what? I would love to hear a 16 cover of an ABBA song. I think that would be insane. Oh no, Bee Gees, not ABBA, Bee Gees. Sorry, I just can't imagine it.
I think you could when you read the lyrics.
Really?
So I'm gonna go ahead and give you. Again, this is like far away from, especially vocally. I don't have a falsetto, but I want you to read the lyrics to the song "Tragedy" by the Bee Gees, and tell me that's not the most fucking depressing song you've ever heard. Tragedy by the Bee Gees. Yeah. It's fuck, man. I mean, there's some really, in fact, it's when you Google the saddest Bee Gees song, it's called Tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I said, just read it. They're brilliant. Obviously, no one needs to fucking hear from me how great the Bee Gees are, what great players they are, and what great songwriters they are. But that song especially has opportunities for riffs. So I'm laying it out there right now. So if anyone else covers that, they're biting us. Okay, this is the copyright on the metal Bee Gees song right now. Now I got to make it happen.
I know the Foo Fighters did it really well, like 2 years ago or whatever, didn't they? But I would imagine you've beefed it up a bit more than that, right?
You're not going to tell it's a Bee Gees song, to be bluntly honest with you. You're not. But it is a Bee Gees song. It's just aesthetically, it's going to sound like 16. Incredible. I just think I was really, really, for one, it's a great riff song. For two, I mean, let me just read some of these lyrics to you, okay?
Yes.
With no one to love you, you're going nowhere. Tragedy. When you lose control, you've got no soul. It's tragedy. When the morning cries and you don't know why, it's hard to bear. With no one beside you, you're going nowhere.
That's
damn Barry Gig. Barry Gig, man. That's like gun in mouth, man. Fuck. The whole song's like that.
I saw him once. I went and saw Black Label Society in London, and I think his son was playing drums for him at the time.
What?
Yeah, true story. True story. I can't remember his name. So obviously someone not Robin. Someone Gibb, but he was the son of a Bee Gee, and he was the drummer in Black Label Society for however long. And I've turned round and there's a Bee Gee standing at the bar, just standing there watching his son. I couldn't believe it. I genuinely couldn't believe it.
So,
but it's true.
Who's the drummer? I guess humble brag here. Max Weinberg, Springsteen's drummer. His son is in Slipknot.
Yeah, that's right.
He made a playlist last year of the songs that made him feel something, and our song was on there, "Scrape the Rocks." So I was, he's a Weinberg. He's in Slipknot. So I'll take the nod. You take those nods when you can. Again, we were pretty stoked. I was like, what is this? His best year end of songs that make you feel something, and we're on there. So I'm like, right on.
That's well
right
cool.
on, man.
That is pretty cool. Have you played in the UK?
No, not since like 99. Yeah. When again, I've changed planes plenty of times in London. But we really need to go there. So there's a band called Ohms that I like. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with them. I really like them.
The droney stuff, right? Is it the droney stuff?
No, Ohms is more of they sound a little like us, but their own thing. They're, I don't know where they're from in England, but I know they've gotten like plenty of press, like Kerrang and stuff like that, and Metal Hammer. Yeah. They're a band. God, I don't know where they're from. Oh, they're from Manchester.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's Ohms with 2H. I've been pen pals with those guys for a long time. There was another band called Hark that I really like. Did
Oh,
you guys
okay.
ever hear Hark?
Is
Hark,
that have they
Jim
got
Bob?
an exclamation mark in the name of the band? Or am I
I don't
thinking
know,
of a
but they were
different
like
band?
really good sludge. It was on like Season of the Mist like 5 years
Right.
ago. I know the guy kind of retired from it. It's really good again. I'd love we got to get there, but England is a weird, not a weird place, but now, especially that the border's a little harder to navigate, they
Yeah.
don't let in musicians like me without work permits, and it's not really in our business plan to do anything legitimate. No, to do anything, that requires like that level of like work permits, and it's just like,
Yeah.
ugh.
It's just too much
can,
hassle.
in relation to the rest of Europe, where you can just kind of, I'm a tourist,
Yeah.
I'm a tourist. Yeah.
It's a shame,
But
man.
no,
There's some
we
wicked
need to
venues
get
you
there.
can play.
It's definitely a goal, to play the underworld is definitely a goal, a lifetime goal. So I'm sure hopefully I can do this the next couple of years and get there and make it happen.
Yeah, man. Oh, you guys would go down a right storm at the underworld. I think you're perfect
If
for that gig.
I don't know if Orange Goblin's listening, they need main support. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Bobby, can we ask you our weird question? We always ask at the end.
We always ask
Of
a
course.
weird question.
It is
Okay.
You've got one song to send into space for any other life form to hear. Only one. What are you going to send up there?
To scare off potential predator races and species. I'm gonna go with "Rise Above" by Black Flag. It's fucked up. It's not in time. The lyrics are super honest, and it's heavy. It's dark. It's feedbacky. It's lo-fi, and none of that matters. And I think if the brain sucking aliens heard that, they'd be like, let's move on and go to another planet that maybe has some like Joni Mitchell going on, or something like that. I think I'm going with Black Flag, Rise Above. Again, there's like a time signature thing in the beginning. It sounds like a mistake or something, and so it'd be like, man, those guys are fucked up. They did that on purpose. Like that's it's muscular. It's got everything for me. It really does.
Nice.
So it's to this day that shit still speaks to me. Once it's in your brain as a kid, it's just there forever.
Wow.
Awesome. No one said Black Flag so far, so that's brilliant.
Someone
said the Marilyn Manson, The Beautiful People, the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that will scare them off.
If they watch the video, it'll scare them off.
Yeah, exactly. Or what if they're like, this is we're down for this. Let's get there. So I don't know. I'm scared of that too.
Who knows?
I'm scared of 10-foot aliens in bondage gear. I'm scared of that shit too.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Scared of them, mate. They could be here already.
Yeah, who knows? What is
I know
out
exactly.
there? Something's got to be out there.
Didn't they just say, hey, guess what? We can't explain this stuff. Here's some aliens. Do that what you will. And it's like on the third page of the paper.
Yeah, it was something to do with the guy from Blink 182 or something, wasn't it?
What is his name?
He's been like a long time believer, obviously. But apparently he was right. I don't know.
Yeah. He was in the papers, like, yeah, I told you I was right, and all this. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
Like you say, it wasn't like front page news. It was kind of like hidden away underneath the surface.
Which is crazy because
I don't know what happened.
Like imagine in the 80s if they were just like, guess what? Aliens are real. Here's the footage. We don't know anything else about this. We can't explain it. And we all would have lost our brains. But now with the influx of like 24-hour news and just fucking tragedy constantly and mass shootings, they're like aliens. And they're like, all right, cool. Next. Like, what the fuck, man? Everybody should be freaking out because of that. They're watching us. We don't know what they are.
It's mental, isn't it? Are you a big watcher of the news? Do you like watching the news?
No, man.
A lot of people don't, do they? It's all doom and gloom, right?
If it bleeds, it leads. It's hard. I think that preps you for a lot of anxiety and fear that really doesn't exist. I think there was a Bill Hicks joke that was like, I sat around for 2 days, chain smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee, and watching CNN, thinking the world was gonna fucking end. And then I went outside, and the birds are chirping, and there's children running. It's like, man, I don't think as humans we're supposed to have that influx of input of information. Where here I am, fucking San Diego, and I just got back from a fucking farmer's market and had a cucumber mint limeade and Greek food and organic vegetables. Like my tunnel vision. It doesn't mean I'm not empathetic to the whole world suffering, but Jesus Christ, man, that's no reason to be an emotional martyr. I think this time on this earth is too short for that shit. It's too short for that much negativity, man.
Yeah, 100%, mate.
And the shit they're peddling stuff that's just
fear.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just make you scared. Make you scared. That's like, I'm okay. I'm okay.
As long as there's farmers markets, mate, you're gonna be all right.
Exactly. Yeah, it's ride my skateboard around, play my riffs, and go to farmers markets and drink coffee. I think I could live in my bubble and die happy.
That's it, mate. That's it.
Yeah.
Bobby, on that note, mate, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been lovely chatting to you, and we wish you luck with everything you've got coming up, especially the covers album of the Bee Gees.
Yes, look at that. Please
wicked,
send
man,
me
wicked,
that.
man. Oh no, hang on. We never got. I know you've been asked this a million times, but we want to hear you say it. Why did you change the name from 15 to 16?
Oh, so here's the real story. We made this demo. We recorded with Jeff Forrest. By the way, the guy that recorded the first 2 Blink-182 albums here in San Diego. So that's Jeff Forrest is who we've recorded with forever. We were some of his first clients. And we recorded these 4 songs, and they turned out great, and they turned out to be kind of what we are today. Like, we just made this demo, and it's like, oh shit, this is kind of like, harsh vocals, fast or slow, sludgy riffs, tuned down to D or C, some noise, some, heaviness, like I said, influenced by what was going on, Black Flag, Fu Manchu around us at the time. We got this idea that we're going to make this double 7-inch. We went to Rainbow Records in LA and got, one of us, the drummer at the time took the initiative, was like, I'm gonna do this double 7-inch of this, and had his friend design it. And we were friends with this pro skateboarder, and he's a famous artist now named Mark Gonzalez. And he always wrote Team 15 on his skateboards, like as some weird, like, I don't know, he always wrote things on his grip tape and paint pens. And so we're like, that's cool, Team 15. We're gonna steal that from Mark. And then we became 15. And then, so we made these 7-inches. We had like paper logos, 2 7-inches. And we went to this place in Huntington Beach, California, Vinyl Solution. It's still there today. It's the hub of punk in Orange County. It is, or, hardcore of heavy music of anything. And we're like, hey, you want to buy some of our 7-inches? We're called 15. And the guy's like, there's a band called 15 from Berkeley already. And we're like, oh, so we're 16. And then we went home and photocopied it. And we're like 16. Okay, so we're not going to write it out as 16. We're going to be the number 16. And it was just like that, like just that. I'm again, this is like 30 years ago, but that was just the serendipity of how something like that happens. And then, now it's taken on deeper meaning, and everybody wants to know, I still think it's a horrible name, to be bluntly honest with you, because you can't Google it. It's hard to search for on Spotify. We have a logo that's cool. The logo is definitely cool, but the artist Pusshead did that for us. So, we're blessed to have that. But it's a really horrible name. But then people ask, like, well, don't you regret? Or if you would have known, it's like, well, it was before Google. So if you think I would have foreseen something like Google coming, I sure as shit wouldn't have started a band. So,
No.
it is what it is. That's the irony of it. But it's cool. It's ambiguous. It doesn't really tell you anything about what we sound like.
So, well, I didn't know
Yeah.
Pushead did your logo. I mean, he did a lot of stuff for Metallica, right?
Yeah. He actually did our first album cover called
Amazing.
Curves That Kick. You can look. We got the endorsement. So we were in that, long story short is we did that 7-inch. It hit like maximum rock and roll and all the punk things. And then Pushead wrote us a letter saying how he really liked it and he wanted to put out our record. So our first two records were actually put out by Pushead. So we got an early nod by someone who is crazily influential in both skateboarding and metal culture. So it's I mean, I'm like I said, now this 16 is forever because we got a Pushead logo.
Exactly that. You couldn't really change
and also
it.
it's and a bunch of people got tattoos or a bunch of good people got, where are mine? Oh yeah, so there's tattoo logos. Most people all over the earth have 16 tattoos, so we can't change it now. It is what it is.
It's set in stone, and rightly so.
Well,
no turning back,
UK,
man.
Bobby. I hope you come play the UK.
Yeah.
I know you're trying. We have never seen you.
guys,
and we'd love to.
You guys better be there. Where are you guys at?
We're from a place called Essex, which is 40 minutes from London. We wish you all the luck going forward, sir.
Sunny California.
Yeah, you get the metal out on stage, man. You don't need to walk around like a metaler, right?
I'm not Lemmy, so
Exactly.
I'm over here trying to stay healthy.
Good man.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah.
Right, guys,
Thanks so much for coming on, Bobby. You take care, mate.
Take care.
Speak to you later. Bye bye.